Guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. So last week we have witnessed one of the most iconic, most historic, and also most importantly very emotional and farewell moment to say goodbye to the one and only the iconic Queen of the Skies, aka the Palace of the Skies, none other than the Maharaja Air India 747-400, registered as Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha. So her final flight took place on 22nd April from Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji to Roswell Air Center, and it was owned by AirSail Incorporation. It was deregistered as November 940 Alpha Sierra, aka November 940 AS. So, marking her as her final flight and also, most importantly, ending the quad jet era in Indian aviation. So, I would like to pay a special tribute in this video, specifically on how Air India became the pride of Indian aviation with the introduction of the first ever 747 dating back from 1971 until now. So, without further ado, let's get a deep dive on its historic journey of how Air India became the Palace of the Skies in Indian aviation. So, let's get started right away. Alright, guys, so right in front of your screen is Air India's first ever Boeing 747 200, registered as Victor Tango Echo Bravo Delta, also known as VT-EBD. So its first commercial flight took place on March 8, 1971 at Boeing's Plainfield in Everett, and delivered to Air India on March 22nd, 1971 with the following MSN registration number 19959, as you can see on the right side corner of the screen. So her age of this 747 is 6.8 years old. So this iconic 747-200 is the first variant of the 747 family, and this aircraft is powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney JT9D engines with the thrust levels of 46,000 to 50,000 pounds of force. So coming to the interiors of this iconic Boeing 747-200 of Air India. So the first impression is it looks absolutely iconic. The moment you enter inside the plane, you could witness the ambience of how the interior layouts are made. Take a look at the first class. So it is highlighted with pink background and with traditional Indian culture. So specifically representing with different states, with different languages. So they are highlighted with a very artistic expression in first class. And then going to the economy class, you have another different theme with another different culture, another different tradition level, how the layout has been made. And followed by the bar lounge. Well, it's very common to every 747. So it is located on the upper deck of the 747. So you can go there at a bar lounge, have a nice champagne indeed. But obviously, if you're going back to the 1970s to 80s, well, it was very traditional as well when you board inside this amazing, majestic Palace of the Skies. So I think Tata has done a revolutionary job in terms of promoting its national pride of our country, India. And to this day, take an example of the Air India Express with their iconic tail designs highlighting the same different traditions, different cultures, and most importantly, the different languages scripted on the tails of the 737-800, which is, it's a first inspiration from this iconic Boeing 747. All right, so now into the cockpit layout of this iconic Boeing 747-200. So what you can see here is this is a 3-man layout. So you have the captain on the right side of the seat. You have the first officer on the left. And right here behind them is the flight engineer. So the role of the flight engineer here is to assess the aircraft's fluids, the aircraft's hydraulic fluid status, aircraft's oil pressure, and also checking the fuel status here with these gauges. And most importantly, it also checks about the aircraft's hydraulic system, specifically both with wings, ailerons, and most importantly, both with respect to navigation as well. Now it's time to go to the center of the cockpit, what's behind the scenes. So in the center of the cockpit, everything is very vintage, guys. I really love the vintage design of this amazing avionics. So the first thing is, if we can zoom in here on to the first officer's seat, you can see this is the artificial horizon gyroscope. So if you compare to our modern aviation levels, you do have a digital gyroscope. But at that time, back in 70s to 80s, they use these artificial gyroscopes to assess the terrain level during the flight. And then comes to the altitude meter, from which altitude you want to assign to it. And then on the left side is the speedometer. So to get a better visual view, you can check it on the captain's view here. So it's the same as the co-pilot's layout. So the right side is the altitude meter, like I said before, and this is the speedometer, where here you can just set a ping at which V1 speed you want to climb during the takeoff. That is also can be done manually right here. And this one, I believe, is the compass for specifically for the which flight path they want to travel through. So they can coordinate it with this compass here as well. And then coming to the center panel of the avionics, you have the auxiliary gyroscope. So in case if the pilots and co-pilots gyrometers failed, so this can be used as a backup system to measure the terrain level at which altitude the plane is flying, specifically, in the night conditions right here. And over this section is the engine status meter, specifically checking about how much thrust the engine is pulling up here, and checking up the oil pressure on the engine, and also checking up the temperatures of the engine as well. So everything is highlighted here. And obviously this lever is the landing gear. And coming to the top panel of this avionics, so left side it is the VHF frequency change. So that's one. And then you have the flight director switch right here, the auto throttle setting switch, right here as well. And this is the autopilot settings, both A and B. So I'm open to hear about what is this autopilot A and B means. So you can ping it in the comment section below as well, right? So the next, so right in the center section is the altitude hold switch with the heading settings right here. And then you have the vertical speed, specifically how much rate of descent you want to go down, or rate of climb you want to go up. So it's the same here on the captain side with the same VHF frequency change updates. Now coming up to the bottom panel section of the 747. So, well, I think this is a flight computer where you can manually add some inputs with the flight coordinates. And here you can have these start trim settings. You have the speed brake settings here, and this is the parking brake lever. Then you have the engine's starter settings, like you switch on or off the engine. This is the thrust lever of 4 engines, and the right side is the flap settings. Again, here in the bottommost section of the 747-200 is the navigation settings, and also you can change the frequency inputs right here as well. All right, guys, so coming to the fleet size of this iconic 747-200, so it consists of 14 aircraft. So the first one is the Victor Tango Echo Bravo Echo, which is 30.5 years old. So it was the second aircraft introduced after the first Victor Tango Echo Bravo Delta was commissioned. So that was named as Emperor Shah Jahan, and then followed by Victor Tango Echo Bravo November, so named as Emperor Rajendra Chola. So again, her age was 30 and a half years old, with the following MSN number 20459. So remember guys that this livery, what you're seeing right now, is an experiment livery used on the 747-200, as they were planning to rebrand the logo of Air India. So, well, initial reactions were not so satisfied specifically with this livery. So, actually, this was a previous livery right here, you can see in the screen. Right. So, you can see the text is not at all good, and including the logo is also not convinced. So, that's where they revamped again with the old livery as well. Then coming to the next one is the MSN 20558, registered as Victor Tango Echo Bravo Oscar, so named as Emperor Vikramaditya with the age of 18.1 years. So interestingly, specific to this aircraft, so there was an incident happened on May 9th, 1990, where this aircraft scheduled from London Heathrow to Delhi, and then with the Mumbai as to be as a final stop. So when this aircraft landed at Delhi Indira Gandhi International Airport, during the landing, the pilots deployed the reverse thrust of the 747's Pratt & Whitney's JT90 engines, where unfortunately one of the engines suffered a detachment from its engine pylon, leading to a fuel tanks which are located on the wings got ruptured and ignited. So there were 215 passengers were on board the flight, and fortunately everyone evacuated safely. So according to the investigation, it was revealed that one of the fuse pins located on the engine pylons of one of the 747's engine 1 was not properly aligned, and due to which it got detached and leading to impact on the wing's fuel tank that led to a fuel rupture, onto the engine and igniting it. So that was indeed a miraculous escape, but sadly the airframe of the 747's wings got heavily damaged, so it had to compensate so much. Then coming to the next one is the MSN 21446, registered as Victor Tango Echo Foxtrot Juliet. So this aircraft age was also 30.2 years old, named Chandragupta. So it was converted to a freighter version, which happened on November 1998 with the cargo freighter called Cargo Lux. So most of you may not know that Cargo Lux is similar to the FedEx and UPS. It's one of the most recognized logistics operator in freighter aviation operations as well. And then finally is the MSN 21936. This is the final version of the 747-200 for Air India, registered as a Victor Tango Echo November and Quebec. So her age was again 30 and a half years old and named as Himalaya. So the operations of 747-200 was ended up in 2005. So out of Boeing 747-200s operated in Air India's fleet, so only 2 aircraft lost, and with massive fatalities as well. So one of those 2 aircrafts was none other than the first ever Air India 747 was introduced back on 1971. So that is the Victor Tango Echo Bravo Delta. So this flight is Air India flight 855 bound from Mumbai to Dubai. So this flight was scheduled at 8 p.m. and there were 215 passengers who were on board the flight. So if you can look at the flight map, this is what happened on 1st of January 1978. So when it comes to the pilots, the first was the Captain Madan Lal Kakur. So he joined in Air India in 1956 with 18,000 flight hours. So he's a very well experienced pilot. Followed by the first officer was a 43-year-old Indu Virmani, and he's a former Indian Air Force commander who joined Air India in 1976, and his flight hours was 4,500, and still he's very well experienced as well. Followed by the flight engineer was a 53-year-old Alfredo Faria. So he joined Air India in 1955, and he has a very nice flight hours with over 11,000 flight hours, and which is by far he is well recognized senior flight engineers at that time with a maximum level of experience. So overall, this crew has a very good experience, specifically operating this type. So at 8:12 p.m., the 747 lined up at a runway heading west towards Dubai, and it took off with a normal pace. So at this section here, so they were about to cross the coast near to the Bandra Worli ceiling, as you can see right here. So the pilots were about to execute a right maneuver to align up with the flight path towards Dubai. And remember, guys, specifically in the night time, once you cross this terrain here, you don't see completely, because the whole ocean will be a pitch black during the night flight. So the only thing they need to rely on is the flight instruments or avionics. So during that time, there were areas of mechanical failures that, what as per the sources reported, that one of the captain's gyrometer was malfunctioning, as well as the first officer. So there was some situation where disorientation triggered, leading to a confusion on the gyrometer at which level of flight they are flying with. And so the flight engineer was trying to notify and alert the pilots that they are trying to make the plane violently towards left. So the angle was near to 40 to 50 degrees. So it was descending very rapidly, and they were unaware that which level of flight they were flying through. So they are blindly tilting the plane towards the left side, and then sadly crashed just 3 kilometers near to the Bandra shores. So they immediately found the wreckage of one of the Pratt and Whitney's VT-EBD engines, and it was confirmed that none of the passengers survived, and it was by then it was the deadliest air crash in aviation history. So the investigation revealed that one was the instrument malfunction might have triggered it, and the second one was the captain, Madan Lal Kakur. He was used to take diabetes, and he used to be taking drugs, and because of that, that might have triggered this incident. But overall, just like I said, it is still one of the deadliest air accidents, and sadly losing the first ever 747 in such devastating accident is very heartbreaking indeed at that time. So another shocking incident within the Indian aviation community is the another loss of Boeing 747-200 series, which involved Victor Tango Echo Foxtrot Oscar, named as Emperor Kanishka. So this plane had a flight number Air India Flight 182, was scheduled from Toronto, Canada to Mumbai with a stopover at London's Heathrow Airport and Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport. So there were 329 passengers were on board. Among those, 268 were Canadians, 24 were Indian citizens, and 27 were British citizens as well. So as you can see on this map right here, so the flight took off normally from Toronto, and it was cruising altitude at 31,000 feet. So if you can listen the clip of the ATC recordings, and including the CBR recordings based on the investigation. realized that there is a huge whining noise uh, coming out, indicating that the plane got depressurized immediately, indicating that something explosion has triggered. So that is where you can see on the first image that that led to the source of the explosion at the cargo bay door, and leading to the disintegration of the whole fuselage of the 747, scattering the debris all over near to the island. So that is where the Air India Flight 182 was contacting with the Shannon Tower. So immediately the rescue was initiated, and they found a debris field scattering around the ocean with no survivors. So immediately the investigation directly concluded to be a terrorist attack, and there were two masterminds who were responsible of the bombing of Air India Flight 182, and those two people were Inderjit Singh Riot and also Talvinder Singh Parmar. So they were the six separatist leaders who were responsible of bombing this Air India Flight 182. And if you can see on the screen, the animation footage, actually this aircraft was carrying the fifth engine. So the 747-200 was also have a capability of carrying the fifth engine as a spare in case if the any one of the engines suffered a failure. But in addition to that, it was also used as a cargo purpose to attach another engine pylon just near to the number 3 side of the engine. So, well, because of these two devastating losses of the 747-200 finally ended its journey of Air India's 747-200 program until in 1988, Air India introduced the new Boeing 747-300 variant. So among those is the first is the MSN 24159, which is the Victor Tango Echo Papa Whiskey, you can see on the screen, with name as Shivaji at the age of 22.4 years old. And another one is the MSN 24160, registered as Victor Tango Echo Papa X-Ray, with the age of 20.5 years, named as Nasima Varman. So remember guys, previously when I highlighted about this specific livery, so they've also tried to test it in the 747-300 as well. Like I said, it's an experiment livery of this Air India, but still, like I said before, it wasn't very attractive, but it looks very dull as well. So the major changes in the 747-300 compared to the 747-200 series is the extension of the upper deck, as you can see right here. So with the maximum capacity of another 600 passengers to be fulfilled on the upper deck. But coming to the interiors, that is the cockpit layout of the 747-300, as you can see right here. So the only initial change is the replacement of the analog dials with the, well, another accurate readings of the engine status readings as well, and also introducing the new flight nav computer, where you can add new coordinates for each of the flight path. And the minor changes, again, you can see they updated the gyrometer, and they also updated the speedometer, the altitude meter as well. And again, the upper section of the avionics still retains the same as with the predecessor. And another minute change that I would recognize is this digital display of vertical speed and altitude hold settings right here. So these inputs were given digital inputs, and only change is, like I said, is the engine status and the introduction of the flight nav computer as well. And the upper section of the 747-300 is almost the same as the 200 variant, where you have the landing lights, rotating beacon lights, strobe lights, wing lights, taxi lights. So these are all added here, and it's the same as the old model as well. So it is a bit modern version of the predecessor. So again, These aircraft were used again both in domestic and international operations. Finally, in 2009, both Air India's 747-300s were retired from its service and was taken to the scrap until with the introduction of the brand new Air India's Boeing 747-400 with a fleet size of 14. It was first introduced in 1993, and the first three aircrafts which you are seeing on the screen are officially owned by Air India. So on the left side of the screen is Victor Tango Echo Sierra Oscar with the MSN number 27165 with the age of 30.4 years old, named as Khajuraho. So this aircraft took part in domestic and international operations, and whenever I've been visiting at the airport, I have seen this aircraft under domestic operations flying between Hyderabad to Mumbai. So I am open to all Indian viewers, to those who have experienced this magnificent 747 experience from Hyderabad to Mumbai. You can share your journey in the comment section below as well. So as of now, this aircraft is parked at the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus in Mumbai at the parking bay. So many plane spotters can still see this aircraft, but it's in a bad shape. But until this aircraft was also being sold by Airsail.inc, and soon this aircraft will be going for the scrap. So the next aircraft is MSN 28094, registered as Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha with the age of 27.6 years old, named as Agra. So this aircraft played a very important role both in the VVIP missions by taking Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President of India, and also took part on delivering medical supplies during COVID pandemic. And this aircraft was officially being retired from its service in 2021 because of the post-pandemic period, which led to the groundings of not only the VT-EBD but also the VT-ESO as well. So on April 22nd, we have witnessed the deregistration of this aircraft, now be known as November 940AS. It was being sold to Airsail.inc and Roswell Air Center, where she will be unfortunately being scrapped. So on April 22nd, we have witnessed the final flight, and it was indeed for every Indian aviation fans. It was a very heartbreaking but an emotional moment to remember such a legacy that redefined the era of Indian aviation travel, and that is where the ending of the quadjet era came to a close in Indian aviation. The second one is the MSN 28095, registered as Victor Tango Echo Victor Bravo, and her age was 27.5 years old, named as Velha Goa. So this aircraft is also parked, and it was the livery also been stripped off, and soon this aircraft will be also being sold to Airsail.inc at Roswell Center. So according to the sources, that 4 Air India 747-400s, 2 of them are being taken to the scrap, and another 2 are being used to convert it into the freighter versions. So the next one is the leased Air India 747s with the MSNs 24198 and 24621. So it was previously registered as Victor Tango Alpha India Charlie and Alpha India Delta. So it was previously being operated by Korean Air till 2003. So one of those, Victor Tango AIC, age was 22.6 years old, and AID is 33.4 years old, named as Sanchi and Kaziranga respectively. And another one is the MSN 24226 with the registration Victor Tango Alpha India Mike with the Boeing 747-400M with the age of 32.9 years old and named as Sundarbans. Why Boeing 747-400 became the most popular variant, not only within the Air India fleet, but all over the world. So the specialty here is that they have upgraded the avionics and also the new engines. So these 747-400s is powered by Pratt & Whitney's PW6000 with a range of 52,000 to 62,000 pounds of force, And most importantly, the capacity of the passengers are near to 460 passengers respectively. So speaking about the avionics, so this is the original pic of Air India 747-400 avionics. So as you can see, this is the registration number, Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha, and you also can see the state name as Agra here as well. So immediately you can recognize that the whole avionics is changed with full digital displays. So the left side is the gyrometer, on the right side corner of the gyrometer is the altitude readings, and also the speedometer as well. The second screen indicates the navigation display, where you can pinpoint each of the waypoints with respect to the following destinations. And at the center console, you can see these three are still retained. So coming back to the center console of the section, so these three analog dials, specifically one is the artificial gyrometer, which is still being used in the 747-200, 300 series. It's still used as a backup system in case if these digital displays malfunctioned. The second one is the speedometer settings and the altitude meter settings. All are in analog, and these can be used as auxiliary backup systems in case if these displays are not working at all. Then coming to the center of the display is the engine status, where you can specifically determine how much oil pressure, how much fuel, and also how much thrust the Pratt & Whitney 6000 engines are gaining or losing. So it can be indicated right here. And followed by these messages, specifically with the flight, specifically with the flight characteristics like TCAS or autopilot, or if the landing gear deployed or not. So these messages can be triggered on the right side corner of the screen. And you have a dedicated landing gear lever, similar to the old generation of 747s. And these displays are same as the co-pilot side, and including the captain side also as well. Now coming to the upper panel of the 747, immediately you can recognize is the auto throttle arm switch. So once you activate the auto throttle arm switch, you can assign the dedicated speed, how much you want to cruise. So it is similar to normal vehicles cruise control settings, right? So once you set the particular speed, let's say 250 kilometers per hour, so you can press the speed button and the plane cruises with that designated speed. And followed by the LNAV and VNAV settings. So this LNAV and VNAV is dedicated with the navigation system. So it's like a GPS system, where once you assign with a particular waypoint, the plane flies through that designated coordinates. And specifically, it will be helpful for long haul flights as well. And followed by the heading settings. This can be done as an additional reference in case if you don't want to use LNAV or VNAV, you can use heading settings as well, specifically for the visual flight rules in that context. So the next one is the vertical speed setting, where you can assign a particular rate of descent or ascent with respect to the assigned altitude right here. So you have the dedicated vertical speed button here, and you have altitude hold switch here. So you can assign it at which altitude you want to climb. So with respect to the climb rate, you can use this vertical speed, say 2000 feet per second, either climbing or descending. So again, on the right side, we have the autopilot settings. You can activate or disengage it. And then you have a separated disengage setting to disable all autopilot functions. So coming to the upper panel of the 747, so it's almost the same as the 200 and 300 series. So definitely you may recognize these are the landing lights, strobe lights, tail lights, rotating beacon lights, strobe lights, and you can also have some switches like using wipers, anti-de-ice functions on the upper panel. So everything is almost same as the old generation 747, 200 and 300 series respectively. Now coming to the below panel of the 747 center console. So these two are Nava computers where you can assign at which destination you want to fly through and which coordinates you can pinpoint it with respect to the navigation system right here. And on the center display screen is the 747 layout where you can check if the doors are open or closed, if the cargo bay doors are open or closed, or if the landing gear doors are open or closed. So everything will be indicated here as well. And coming to these thrust settings, so you have the normal traditional thrust levers, specifically similar to both 747 200s and 300s. Then you have the speed brake settings right here, and you have a parking brake setting on the left side, and then you have the flap settings as well. It's very similar to the old generation 747s again. And these are the dedicated switches of all four Pratt & Whitney 6000 engines. Either you can switch on or switch off. And again, the below center console right here is you can set up which radio frequency you want to connect, specifically when you enter into one airspace to another airspace. And another is the backup Nava computer. Also, you can also assign the same with the coordinates. So overall, guys, I believe that generation after generation, the evolution of the 747 has become a game changer in not only in our Indian aviation, but also most importantly, both in competitive as well. So 747-400s has been the brand value for all long-haul commercial airliners we've been operating it, and including in the freighter sector as well. So recently during the COVID pandemic, the passengers were heavily impacted with the COVID lockdowns, impacting with the long-haul operations, specifically in the commercial aviation. But when it comes to the COVID medical supplies, the freighter versions of the 747-400s became the most popular variants to be operated through. And with the new generation, the 747-8 coming into the picture and finally ending up its production 3 years ago, it was indeed a very shocking moment to all 747 fans who would be deeply miss such iconic Queen of the Skies. So finally, guys, I believe that the initiative that Air India introducing the 747 was indeed a game changer in the Indian aviation. And after a decades of service, this 747 made memorable moments from best to worst case. We do understand about the losses of the Emperor Ashoka and Kanishkas of the 747-200s. Which was indeed a very shocking incident indeed. But still, 747s became a game changer both in quality and safety, and Boeing has earned that recognition by making memories of this amazing 747. But indeed, the retirement of Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha 747 was indeed very shocking to all, which has been sold by Inc. Going to the Roswell Center for scrapping is, it's indeed a shocking moment to all aviation fans. So most of all aviation fans were expecting this aircraft to be preserved as a museum plane, but sadly it may not work properly. But again, we would definitely miss the iconic Queen of the Skies, serving to our nation for over a decade since 1971, and finally coming to an end in 2024 with its departure of the other three aircrafts, which is still there at the Mumbai airport, soon to be departed. And but like I said in a previous comments, that the other two aircrafts will be converted into the freighters. So another journey is set for those two aircrafts as well. But sadly, this Air India 747 Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha aircraft is going to be scrapped. Means it's heartbreaking to all aviation fans. So that's it, guys. This is my special tribute of Air India's legendary Boeing 747, serving within the Indian aviation skies over a decade since 1971 until now. No matter how much tragic losses which has suffered with the loss of Emperor Ashoka and Emperor Kanishka, with the combined total of nearly 400 to 600 casualties, it's about remembering those emotional moments and loss. But with the rise of this iconic 747-400, it became a record-breaking moment, specifically the Air India's 747 Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha became a game changer both in VVIP and also both in COVID relief operations. So its memories will never be forgotten, but we will definitely miss so much with its history, always be written in our memory books. And it is also a symbol of inspiration for every Indian aviation fans who wish to pursue to be as a pilot. And watching this, the Queen of the Skies, wherever you go at the airport, at the terminal gate, you can see how big it looks and how it reshaped the era of aviation. And it is a technological marvel by Boeing. And most importantly, this innovative design of the 747 made, every generation by generation, none other than the Joe Sutter. He is the one who reshaped the era of the whole aviation industry by introducing this type for the long haul operations and making memorable moments. So once again, guys, with her departure of Victor Tango Echo Victor Alpha, we still deeply miss her. But like I said, the memories will never be forgotten for every aviators who have been flown this amazing 747 indeed. So that's it, guys. This is my special tribute video of the iconic Queen of the Skies, aka the Palace of the Skies, none other than the Maharaja Air India 747. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and ping it in the comment section below and share your experience of your iconic Air India journey as well. So until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. Fast flights and soft landings to you.